this presentation is really about introducing you to your major studio project that you're going to be working on for the rest of the semester. The project's called iTranslate, and in that you're going to be applying all of the sketching skills that you've learned so far to create a concept for a wearable device which will translate different languages for people. So I'll start by just running through the schedule for the rest of the semester. This week is all about introducing the project, and I'll talk a little bit about brainstorming, visual mind maps. I'll also touch on mood boards. So next week is then going to be applying ideation and that sort of fast sketching into your project, then some explanatory, and then some refinement. And then towards the end of semester, we'll give you some final tips on how to create really beautiful presentation pages for your sketches. So first things first, with the project, you need to choose, or you need to decide who your target user is. So you can either choose that this device is designed for kids, for business travelers, or for seniors. So have a think about that. I can tell you now that none of these are more easier than the other, so it's really up to you to decide. So next I'm touching on the brainstorming, mind mapping, mood boards, etc. I'll explain these in a bit more detail towards the end of the presentation, but this is going to be the first step in your project, and this is really a kind of design research exercise which is going to help you to understand what you designed before you start to design it. So next is ideation, so that's where you're going to explore a whole range of ideas in relatively low detail, and you'll be producing pages that look a bit like this. Then explanatory sketches, so this is where you're starting to add a bit more detail to the product. Refinement sketches, that's where you're going to add a bit of Copic rendering. And then this is the sort of thing that you're going to end up with, a final presentation page. This is something that you'll kind of put together from multiple scanned sketches, have beautiful rendering, and it'll really sell your idea. So just to run a recap again, so the schedule is starting with research this week, and then moving on to ideation, explanatory, refinement, and then working on that final presentation page. So moving on to now mind maps. Well, what is a mind map? Many of you are probably quite familiar with a mind map, so I'm not going to explain this in too much detail. Really, a mind map is just a way for you to organise information or organise a whole load of ideas. There is actually a separate video that talks about mind maps and mood boards, and that's available on Canvas. I can just quickly flip to my browser to show you actually exactly where. Okay, so once you get to the home page for this unit, if you head to modules, and then if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll see these design process explained videos. I recommend watching this one, video 2. It's called Discovery, and that will explain some of the basics of mind maps and mood boards and how they fit into the design process. Hit this link and you'll get there. So you can check out that video for a bit more of a detailed explanation. You might recognize me in it. But some tips and tricks for creating mind map. Sometimes students get what a mind map is, but struggle to get started. I recommend using a who, what, where, and when approach to get started with the mind map. And what I mean by that is starting with who. Think about who your target user is and what they want, what their needs. What? Well, think about what the product is going to do. Where? Think about where it is used, and when is when it's going to be used. So my third tip would be to start with the brief. So the brief is a really good resource. It's full of clues and keywords about what you need to deliver with this project. And you can look over the brief and find some important words to get you started with the mind map. My final advice is take a brain holiday from time to time. So don't expect to just do this all in one go. You'll probably get halfway through and then run out of ideas. So I recommend looking for some inspiration, having a bit of a break for a minute, and then when you come back to it, you'll have all sorts of things to add. So this is a really kind of quick, half-finished example that I thought I'd do for this project. Now here for the who, what, where and when clues, well, who, I've decided I'm going to design for seniors, so they're my who. What, well, that's translation, because this product is going to be a translator. Where, well, that really relates to the wearability of this product, and you can start to think about, well, where on the body will this be used? It could equally be considered as, well, where in the world is it used? Maybe it's used on holidays. That could be also come into your when. Now, I haven't added a when to this mind map because I don't want to make it too easy for you guys. You'll also see in the top corner I've added a speech bubble for sophistication. So when I had a look at the brief and looked for some keywords, sophistication really popped out. So from there, I've started to think of ideas around sophistication. So now, moving on to mood boards. Well, what is a mood board? A mood board it's similar to a mind map, but this is really focusing on visual inspiration or visual things that are difficult to just write down as a word and include in a mind map. So really, what it comes down to is it's just a collection of images. Again, I'd recommend that you check out the design process explained video. Number 2, that's the same as the one that I showed just earlier in this video, because that has a more extensive explanation and some more examples. But some tips to get you started. My main tip for mood boards is don't just rely on similar products. Okay, they can really narrow your outlook and actually inhibit your ability to seek inspiration. So images or things that I would recommend including in a mood board would be places or locations, landscapes, buildings, materials, textures, colours. Now, of course, you can use some products as well, as you can see here in this example, but they're all products from a totally different class of products to what the example was actually going to design. My next bit of advice is around where you look for the images. So use Pinterest. I can't stress that enough. It's such a handy way to collect inspirational material, but it also has a lot of really high quality and aesthetic images. There's a website called Unsplash, which is the same. It's got some really beautiful images that go perfectly in a mood board. My final bit of advice is don't use or rely on Google image search. It's really terrible for actually trying to find beautiful images. Sure, it will find you an image of what you look for, but the chances are it will be quite ugly, or it will be from a web service where you have to buy the images, and often they are watermarked and you can't use them. So that was just introducing the project and the mind maps and mood boards. So for homework, you should be creating a mind map, creating mood boards, and most importantly, practicing your sketching. It's still important that you practice and really take the sketches that you were doing for the first half of the semester up a notch so you get a really good grade. Hope you found that helpful. Don't be afraid to post up your work and get some feedback. For those of you who have been putting up your work, I'm seeing some great improvements, so well done. Keep up the good work. Hope you have a great rest of the semester, and you'll see me again in a couple of videos' time. Bye.